As we move into the new year, everybody is talking about vision boards and resolutions, and those are great tools. They help us focus and they help us create change. But tools without perspective can backfire because focus is very powerful. But when focus turns into fixation, we stop seeing the full picture, and sometimes we stop seeing ourselves clearly. And that's what I want to talk about today. Tunnel vision. Tunnel vision is not a personality trait or a mindset. It is actually a threat response. Our brains are wired to narrow attention to keep us alive. And when something feels dangerous, physically or emotionally, the brain locks onto whatever it believes is the threat. That's incredibly useful in a real crisis. But it also becomes a problem when it turns into a daily way of living. Welcome to Untamed and Unfiltered Wellness, the podcast where we're tearing up the rulebook of conventional wellness because one size fits all never fits anyone. I'm your host, Jo Swenson, founder of Olivia Bell. Tunnel vision is great when you're in a crisis. Under stress, your brain purposely puts you into tunnel vision because it's supposed to. The brain prioritizes the part that's responsible for detecting fear and threat. We call that part of the brain the amygdala. But at the same time, that part of your brain that goes toward reasoning and perspective, it takes a back seat. That's your prefrontal cortex. Now, there are decades of research out there under neuroscience and trauma response that can help break this down some more. But the part I want to focus on today is when the brain thinks that you're unsafe, it doesn't care about the future. It just stays stuck in that one spot, that narrow focus. The part that matters is understanding and recognizing that in yourself or somebody else, because our brains are all wired differently. That's why there's such things as depression, anxiety, PTSD. When people are dealing with these types of mental health struggles, it can make it harder to take that step back, not because they don't want to, but they can't. Their brains aren't wired to do that without some help. Some people have easier access to that perspective, but others need more support and they need to lean on somebody or something. And that's why medication, counseling, and alternative therapies are so important to help people dealing with these mental health struggles. And this is where I want you to really listen. When somebody's in a mental health crisis and they're in that downward spiral, they're heading down that deep, dark tunnel, they can only focus on one thing, and that is that they are the problem, that they can't fix it, that they've tried everything, and that the world would be better off without them. That belief is the illness talking. And what happens is that focus, that tunnel vision, collapses their future into a single painful conclusion. And then it convinces them that that is, in fact, real and true. In last week's episode, I talked about the need to let go of controlling everything. But hyper-control and tunnel vision often travel together, because control feels safer than uncertainty. But control doesn't expand anybody's world. In fact, it narrows it. And so trying to control everything is often a sign that the individual does not feel safe, that something is off with their nervous system and their brain is not able to get out of that tunnel vision. Not everybody can break that loop on their own. Some people can, and they do that through different methods. Usually, interrupting the pattern physically, that means getting up out of bed, getting up and walking. And sometimes we have to be that person that walks alongside them or coaxes them out of bed and gets them out into the world. Nature's a great way to shift perspective, but I know not all these things work for everybody. And sometimes deeper work is needed. Needing that help is not a sign of failure. It's a logical and correct next step, but they may not see that. And if you are listening to this and you are knowing that that is you, I want you to reach out. I want you to don't feel like a failure at all. I know you're in pain. People in these dark tunnels are in pain and they're searching for relief. And sometimes they believe that they are the burden and not being around is the relief that everybody needs. But I want to be as plain and as clear as possible. The world is not better without you. In fact, your absence would not be a relief. It would actually be a wound that will never heal. This has been a personal episode for me, having to navigate this over the last week and helping people. The biggest message I can give is to reach out. Let someone know that you need help. Don't sit alone in that deep, dark tunnel. If you are in the United States, we have the Suicide and Crisis Line, and all you have to do is call or text 988. That's it, 988. It's free, it's confidential, and it's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you are outside the United States, you have local crisis lines available to you. In fact, most countries offer them. If you were listening to this and somebody popped into your brain, or over the next few days, weeks, or months, you start thinking about somebody, I want you to take that as a sign. And I want you to reach out to that person through a text, through a phone call, or showing up on their doorstep. I want you to make them feel seen. I want you to make them feel heard. But above everything else, I want them to know they matter. That interruption, that text, that phone call can save their life. When people get into that deep, dark tunnel, all they see and hear are lies. Their perspective is gone, and changing that perspective can save their life. Asking for help is not giving up. It's choosing a way out of that deep, dark tunnel. I hope you make some time today and every day for some peace, some plants, and some paws. Thank you so much for listening to Untamed and Unfiltered Wellness.